Welcome back to the channel and to this 120 amp hour, which you may have seen in our previous video where we took all the panels off, which is why it's looking like this at the moment. This is a project car. It's been with us for a little while. And the reason for it and the reason for doing all this is because a few years ago, we removed all the body panels off our own car, which was a Protonic Blue 94 amp hour range extender, and we bought a whole new set of panels to essentially change the color to Gulf Blue. As a result, we have essentially a whole set of Protonic Blue panels in really good condition left over, and they've been sitting in boxes and they're taking up a lot of space. So when this Imperial Blue 120 amp hour came into stock, and it had a few little sort of body marks here and there, nothing tragic, but it would have needed attention. So what we thought, there's no better opportunity than to take out the Protonic Blue panels that we've got left over and put them onto this car to essentially make a one-of-one Protonic Blue 120 amp hour. It's a very eye-catching, bright color. It's even got its own Facebook appreciation group. And as a result, by putting it on a 120 amp hour, we're gonna offer something really special to one person out there who buys it. So we're pretty much picking up where we left off in the previous video. That's linked above, by the way, and it shows how we removed every panel off the i3. It's quite long, but if you're ever struggling to take a panel off, you can always use it for reference. And as we said in that video, the car's quite dirty. There was quite a lot of mud in the wheel arches. We've already given it a pressure wash outside. There's still some residual dirt, bit of dust and stuff, which we might as well try and get to before we put the panels back on. This is dust and dirt, which is on any i3 if you remove the panels, but it seems silly not to try and give it a go while we're here. And once we've done that, we'll do a time lapse showing you everything going back on. So that's the preliminary cleaning out the way, and I must emphasize it's not sort of a full restoration or anything. It's just sort of getting rid of some cobwebs and stuff while we can. But that's done. There's a few little nooks and crannies which we'll sort once everything's back together, once the car kind of slots back into our normal preparation cycle. But all these things we can get to once the body panels are put back on. There is, however, one body color panel or two body color panels which haven't been removed in that previous video, and those are these little sill covers right here. So probably not very visible, but this is Imperial Blue. On S's, I think it's gloss black, but on this one it's Imperial Blue. So once we fit the Protonic Blue panels, it'll look a bit weird. And actually, if I've already got the Protonic Blue panel ready, it's a lot more visible in that brighter color. So that needs to come off, and it's just held together on these tabs. However, the first time we ever had to take one of these off, we really were struggling. So I thought I'd quickly just show you. The reason for it is there's this weird kind of rivet thing that lives in here. Kind of is a rivet, but is also like a removable clip. So I'm just going to show you the easiest way of getting this off without sort of damaging that rivet, because you can just drill through it and then not use it again, but it does slightly help with holding that in place. So it is good to kind of try and take it out and reuse it. So the best way I've found is if you find yourself, I mean, you can improvise and use a different type of tool, but what I find works well is something, I guess, like that, which is sort of narrow enough to put force on the on the pin inside the rivet. And this kind of T-shape helps because it means you can get in kind of behind it and apply force and kind of use this shaft of the tool to kind of pull forward. So doing my best. There we go. Eventually this little pin pops out. I just give it one more push. There we go. So all that effort for that thing there. So once that's out, you have to get the actual rivet out itself. And to be fair, you can kind of do a similar thing, but this time, instead of using like your smallest tool, use your sort of biggest tool. Put in, and if I just keep pushing, there we go. So it's out. And essentially, if I get that little pin, you can see what's happening. So it's like a pop rivet, but just really awkward. And short of drilling it, if you want to try and save it and reuse it, that is the only way. And it's black, it's not body color, so we will reuse those. But and I don't think there's a part number for them either. So once you've succeeded or not succeeded with removing that pop rivet, this starts to come away, and you can reach in and help it like so, think there's 2 on the underside. And I think 3 on the underside and 2 on the top. So that's those removed, and now we'll go get all the other Protonic Blue panels and start assembly. So that is everything brought over from the previous car. Unfortunately, we found that one of these window trims got slightly damaged in storage, but we'll see how we go. Maybe once we slot it in, it will straighten out. If not, we'll have to order a new one of those. But yeah, that is pretty much it. There's a few clips and stuff that we're not 100% sure on, but I'm sure it will come out in the wash. So yeah, we're gonna get started now. And to add a little bit of fun to this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna actually time it and see how long it takes us to fully reassemble the body panels on an i3. So without any further ado, let's, how are we doing this, Martin? Oh, I need to do a stopwatch, yes. So let me get my phone out and let me, what do I do, Martin? Oh yeah, okay, yes. Don't know what that was. And let's go. So I'll put that down and let's get to work. So I'm going to be trying to get all the panels on. In the meantime, Martin's going to be working to clean up the panels just before they go on and also help me out with some clips and a bit of filming as well. How many minutes in are we, Martin? 39 minutes. Okay, so update, not going very well. Above all else, everything seems to take a lot longer when you're under pressure or doesn't go quite right. But that aside, the main issue we've come across is that if I just put this door down, the rear wing on the charging port side, everything's gone on nicely, but at some point in the last few years, we must have borrowed the emergency release for the door actuator. So it's like a blue cord that comes down here, through here, and out there. And it seems a bit kind of counterintuitive to assemble everything without that in place. So we're gonna have a think about what to do. I have no idea what we did with it. I'm guessing we borrowed it for a different car, but yeah, it's not something we have in stock. So anyway, we'll come back to that in a moment. I'm gonna get on with this driver door. Let's make a start on the front bumper. So what we did with the front bumper is we bought all new trims because given how good everything else looks, it's a shame not to. So what we'll do is we'll get everything assembled. To do that, we need to start with the base of the bumper. So I'm going to put that here. And then this clips in first. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Okay. And actually, while we're here, what's interesting is, so on an i3S, this part of the bumper actually is identical, short of the cutouts here for the arch extenders, but actually all this, if you look between an S and a non-S, it's all the same profile. But anyway, that is now on. Cool. Okay, I'm happy with that. And now we can put this on. This is 2 parts. This bit is literally the splitter itself, and I think it's about £100. There we go, so it looks like that. So we will position that like so. But before we clip that in, we have to also put this one in place. You have to get roughly into place first, like so. So there's tabs between these 2 parts. Clicks are good. And then once that is on, I'll start with these ones here and get like 1 or 2 of them in just to have it roughly in the right position. Now just kind of keep working on it. Very good. Right, that is all of them in. So we've got some structural kind of rigidity to it. So now what we'll do is we will get the lights. A sacre bleu. Martin, you haven't done, we've missed them. We haven't done this yet, but it's all good. Now, this time, that's better. Getting there, slowly but surely. Thankfully, there's a lot of i3s here for reference because I've been struggling with a few bolts, but all is good and everything's going together nicely. This side's pretty much done. This wing's done. The bumper can go on, but we need to put that wing on first. Regarding that wing, actually, obviously, because the donor car was a range extender, it has a flap there for the petrol tank. So that's the only panel that actually we can't utilize. I mean, we could. Should we make it into a fake range extender? No? Okay, Martin's shaking his head. So yeah, we've bought a new wing, which is here, and this is how they come from BMW, and there it is. It's primed, but it's not painted. So we're gonna have to get this painted to match the car. However, what we don't want to do is fit it all completely, because then the paint shop won't be able to kind of get to all these edges to do the overlap. Like if you look at this bumper, for example, you can see all the factory paint is done off the car and it kind of wraps around, so they do the edges as well. So there's no risk of any primer showing, and also it adds a bit of protection on the edges if you get chips and stuff. So yeah, that will need to be painted, but what we're going to do is we're going to dry fit it to the car and leave it on the car but just loosely attached, so the paint shop can do their thing in terms of which bits they do on the car, which bits they do off. Because obviously another thing to consider is that this will need blending into the bumper and also into this door. So I imagine what they'll do is they'll do a first coat off the car, then fit it, and then do the final coat, the blend work and the clear coat at the end. So yeah, anyway, we'll slot that on. We just need to put these on. These are just so the wheel arch liners can be secured. And then lastly, there's one at the front here. If you're doing this at home, obviously there's 3 holes there. We did touch on this in the previous video, but you're only actually going to need to put this thing in the top one here, where there's that little kind of tab. So if I do that, push it on. The reason you're not doing 2 here is because those screws actually go in the other direction. So they go sort of from the wing side into the bumper, whereas that last one, the one nearest to the grills, that one goes from the bumper towards the wing, which is why you need the kind of locator there. So that is that done. And now offer it up. There we go. So it's weird how, like the one on the other side went on super smoothly, but maybe there's a bit of kind of form in a previously fitted panel. But yeah, that's good. So now I'm going to use the screws in there to just put it in place temporarily, but obviously the paint shop's going to have to undo all those. But it's with those screws there that you can sort this alignment here. So all along this edge, you can kind of tidy that up and essentially make it marry up with that door. But yeah, it would be in vain to kind of spend time on it now. So really it's about trying to manage how this paint will happen, because I'm pretty sure that obviously the bumper's going to have to come off for them to access the wing. And actually while we were here, we've discovered, and I do remember this, I mean it was from my car before they were removed, but there's this little graze here, which actually is, if there's anywhere for these panels to be damaged, this is the best place, because they're going to have to blend into this bumper anyway. But what I'm thinking is we don't pop this in because it's a pig to get out without the bumper kind of removed. So I'm just going to put that loose in the boots, and then they can pop it in once they've painted and blended into the bumper. We're drivable. We've got to get the rear bumper back on. I'm keeping the front parts of the wheel arch liners not in place because again they'll just have to come out for this wing to come out. Other than that, this door seal actually worked out really nicely. It kind of cured itself on installation, so we're all good there. And yeah, all the others, these were a real faff. We wasted a lot of time on them, but I'd like to kind of spend extra time, get them right. The wing is on, even though you saw earlier in the video we had that issue with the charging cord, sorry, not charging cord, it's been a long day, with the emergency release cord missing. What we're going to do is we're just going to take this off at a future point and put it on. So don't worry if you're the lucky person who buys this car, it is there. It's just not being done today. And otherwise, rear bumper. There you have it, completely finished and ready for sale and done in 2 hours, 34 minutes. I wish, because it's not done and it wasn't done in 2 hours and 34 minutes. Okay, so truth is we did take an hour-ish break. So realistically, it's probably more like 3.5 hours, but we got very unlucky with a load of missing bolts. And generally this car's been with us for the best part of a year in its sort of completely disassembled state, and it's been an absolute magnet for borrowing parts off. And as you saw earlier in the video, that cable, and we found a few other things as well. So unfortunately it hasn't meant that it was the smoothest of assemblies out there, but anyway, I'm pleased with where we've got to, and we'll finish up all the other bits in the next video. But just to give you a recap of what we've done today, so the new wing, brand new from BMW, is in. It's all been test fitted. We have actually done all the bolts up just to check the fitment. I'm really happy with how that went. It's a little bit kind of hit and miss with BMW parts, and also with these being plastic, there's not a hell of a lot you can do to manipulate them. So sometimes this joint here just doesn't look perfect, but I think once painted, this will look really good. We've kept this little trim off because, as explained earlier, the paint shop will need to blend into this, and then it will give us an opportunity to get this little imperfection sorted here. And at that point, that trim can just pop on. For the same reason that this wing's gonna have to come off, I haven't put in any of the wheel arch liners on this side, nor this trim piece here. So that's still left and not been put back on. But just like the one on the left side, it's got quite a few sort of marks from branches and stuff. So we will replace that with a new one. Doors all good. Alignment's really nice. This wing, as you saw earlier, obviously we've put in a kind of temporary fashion, so I haven't done all the bolts up. I've done one just to make sure the alignment's good, which it is, but I haven't done anything. I haven't attached the wheel arch liner yet because I'm gonna have to take this all off to fit that emergency release, but we'll show you that in the next video. Rear bumper, more problems. Not problems, but things that we just forgot about and only realized once we started filming. But parking sensors have been borrowed for a different car, so at least it will get brand new ones, but I need to get on ordering those because it's not something we keep in stock. And also this bumper, the reason we haven't put this blue trim back on, which simply pops in, it's just held together with those kind of tabs that you saw on the front bumper. The reason we haven't done that is we're going to give this a nice new coat of paint as well, so this bumper's going to come off when it goes to the paint shop, but it's in here nice and firm. It's not going to fall off on the way to the paint shop, and critically the lights are all wired up, so we're all nice and safe when we're driving. That said, those aren't actually on when you're on the road, it's these ones here. Moving along here, everything I believe on this side is done other than the door handles, which we'll show you in the next episode. And these trims all took quite a lot of time, but actually they've come on pretty much perfect, and I would say look factory fresh, which was really the intention with this project. Wheels we'll touch on in the next episode as well, because you've probably seen a few of them have scuffs. I don't know why this one's different. I can't remember why, whether we borrowed it for something else. Hopefully we've still got it. And this mirror cap, while we're at the paint shop again, I think there was a lot of kind of narrow lane activity along this side of the car, so that could polish, but given it's going to the paint shop and they're going to be applying black paint anyway to the rear bumper, we'll have that painted. And I think that is it. In the usual YouTube fashion, we could have pretended that we blitzed it in 2 hours and it's all done, but that's not the reality of life. At least we've got a second episode for you guys where we'll show all the finishing touches, but for now I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, you can click up here to watch the episode where we disassembled this car. And if you've enjoyed this content and you're interested in more i3 stuff or general EV content, click here to subscribe.